So in this video, I'm going to talk about the Lynx Distributor and the way that we set this up for our electrical systems. The Lynx Distributor is really just a bus bar and a fuse block, but it makes for a really clean install. It means you don't have to have a separate bus bar and then a bunch of breakers or fuses. Everything is contained within this. So if you're doing an electrical system in a van or a camper or an RV, then this video is definitely for you. So like I said, the Lynx Distributor is awesome, but it does have a couple of limitations. So Victron has a lot of different components, and they have a couple that are made to go specifically with this Lynx Distributor. There's the Lynx Shunt, and then there's the Lynx Smart BMS. Now, anytime that Victron has the name Smart in it, that means that it has Bluetooth. So for example, this solar charge controller is a smart solar. The Orion for the alternator charging is a smart DC to DC charger. But the Lynx Distributor is not smart, and the Lynx Shunt is not smart. So if you use the Lynx Shunt with this, you're not going to be able to get Bluetooth. And what the shunt does is it gives you an overall picture of your batteries, your state of charge, your usage, your charging current, all of those types of things, which is super important in a van. So your shunt is vital, but like I say, if you have the Lynx Shunt, then you're not going to be able to access it via Bluetooth. Now there is the Lynx Smart BMS, and that is smart. So that Lynx Smart BMS is really only used if you have batteries that do not have an internal BMS. Most of the batteries that we use have an internal BMS. The Victron batteries, their main line of batteries do not have an internal BMS, so that's where that Lynx Smart BMS comes into play. And it does have a shunt in it, it's Bluetooth, and it's really nice if you're using that type of batteries. But if you're using a lithium iron phosphate battery that has an internal BMS, then it's really not necessary. It's going to save you money to use the Victron Smart Shunt, where the Lynx Shunt or the Lynx Smart BMS can cost several $100s. So you're going to save some money by using the Smart Shunt. So I'm going to bring you a little bit closer and show you how we set this up, how we make some modifications that make it fit in a really tight space. So here's the Lynx Distributor. I'm going to take the cover off, and then we can see what's inside. So the Lynx Distributor basically has the power from your batteries coming into it, going through a switch to this positive bus bar on the top. And then down here is the Smart Shunt. We're going to have the negative from the batteries coming to that, going through the shunt and into the negative bus bar. So really the Lynx Distributor is just a couple of bus bars and then fuse slots. Okay, 4 fuse slots. And then it has lugs on the other end where you can hook another Lynx Distributor if you need it. In a van, typically that's not necessary. 4 is usually enough. And there's a way that you can actually fit 5, and I'll get into that in just a minute. But basically the ones that we typically use are, this one's going to the inverter. This one will be going to the Orion alternator charger. This one's going to the DC fuse block, and then this one's going to the solar charge controller. Now what we do if we have a 5th is we'll just connect it to these two, the positive and the negative, and then we'll run a breaker, a Blue Sea breaker, whatever size. Like for example, we typically do that with an air conditioner. We would run the wires off of here. We'll put a breaker, whatever size we need for the air conditioner, right here, and then we'll run it on up to the air conditioner. So 4 slots with fuses and a 5th that you can run to a breaker. We also use this one to attach some DC items, the power for the Smart Shunt, the power for the Serbo GX, and then another one that I'm going to get into at the end. You can see on the cover, it shows here that you have these lights. It shows if you have power, and then it shows these lights, and if a fuse is blown, this will light up red if you are using the Lynx Shunt or the Lynx Smart BMS. If you're not using those, then these lights don't work, which is really kind of a bummer. But we have found a way to make these work using the Smart Shunt with a hack, and I'm going to share that at the end of this video, so make sure you stay for that. So all of the Victron stuff is made in Europe, and so it's all in metric. All of these are 8mm studs, which is about 5/16 in imperial. Use a 13mm socket. And so in these bus bars, they also have the holes to accommodate 8mm bolts. But the thing is, the Lynx shunt has a bigger bolt, and this Blue Sea battery switch also has a bigger one. They're about 10mm. And so what we do is we bore out these holes on our drill press to allow them to accommodate this bigger bolt. And what that allows us to do is attach these directly to the bus bar. If you don't do that, then what you got to do is use battery cable. So in this case, we have a 12-volt system, 3,000 watt inverter, so we've got 4-aught cable. And you can see even this short one that's about 8 or 10 inches long, it's hard. You gotta have some space to get that to curl. You can't make very tight turns with this big battery cable. So if you're attaching your switch and then running a battery cable to this, it's more money because you've got to have the lugs, crimp them, shrink them, takes more time, but also you've got to have some space between all of these different things. By attaching the switch directly to the bus bar, we eliminate that. And we just have a cable coming from our batteries into this 400 amp A&L fuse and then into the switch. Same goes for the shunt. If you're going to have the shunt and you're going to attach it with battery cables, you're going to have a 4-aught cable coming into it and then another one going from the shunt into the bus bar. And so you're going to have to separate everything out. And a lot of times we're working in a really tight space, and space is at a premium. We're trying to keep things as compact as possible. And so by attaching it directly to the bus bars, you can see we keep everything really compact. Now, one thing, when you attach this shunt to the Lynx distributor, they actually don't sit even. The smart shunt is going to sit flat, and then the distributor here is going to be a little bit higher. And so if you try and screw these down, you're going to have everything crooked, and because this is plastic, it could crack. So what we've done is we've come up with this spacer, and it's about 0.2 inches thick, which is the difference in the height of these things, and we just attach this underneath with CA glue, super glue, attach it to the back of the distributor so that everything sits perfectly flat. So this really comes in handy. Before we started making these on our 3D printer, we would try to glue washers underneath or come up with some other type of spacer, and it was just a pain. Now we're able to print these out and just throw them underneath, and so it makes everything sit really flat. And we're going to make these available on our website, so I'll put a link in the description. Now also with the Lynx distributor, you can see I've got it mounted this way with all of the wires coming out the bottom. But sometimes in a lot of our vans, we want these wires to be going down the middle, but they give you an extra sticker label so that you can put on upside down, and then if you had it mounted this way, then you can see they'd all come out the top and you'd still have the label and the lighting and everything like that. So that's a nice little thing they give you. Sometimes, like for example, if you had all your batteries on this side, you might want to have your switch on this side and your shunt on this side and everything coming in here, and so you would rotate it. So you have that option to do it either this way or rotate it 180 degrees and have it facing up. Now I mentioned this little hack that we've done in order to have the lights work on the Lynx distributor when you're using the smart shunt. Now with the Lynx distributor, you get a little phone cable, and that would be if you were using the Lynx shunt or the Lynx smart BMS, you would plug this in here and plug it into the other Lynx device, and that would connect them, and it would also enable those lights. If you don't have either the Lynx shunt or the Lynx smart BMS, then you don't have that ability. So what we've done is we've come up with this little hack where we cut off this phone cable, we solder in a little voltage converter that converts the voltage down. I think that this requires like a 5 or 6 volt input, and so this little thing takes the 12 volt, converts it down, we attach these lugs on the end, we route it underneath the bus bar, and then we just plug it in to this jack, snaps in, and there we go. So just by attaching that little wire with that voltage converter to the end of these lugs, we're able to enable those lights, which is really a nice thing to have on your Lynx distributor. Why spend all this money, all this setup, and then have the lights not work? So like I said, we're now making this spacer available on our website. you can check that out below. But we're also making this entire setup. So we bored out the holes in the Lynx distributor, and then we also make up that little cable that you can put there. We're going to include the Lynx shunt and the switch. So we're including all of this right here with instructions on how to put it together on our website. So what that's going to allow you to do is put this whole thing together really quickly, have everything really tight and compact, and not have to hassle with trying to bore out the holes, because it can be tricky boring out these holes. The drill tends to catch and spin, and so it's nice to have a drill press to be able to do that and make a really clean, accurate hole, just the size that you need for these. And then it's going to have that jumper wire that connects and enables all these lights. So if you're interested in having this setup done for you, shipped out so that you can just assemble it and put it in your build, then check out the link in the description below. So we've got tons of other videos on our channel about DIY van building, how-tos, product reviews, tips and tricks that we've learned from doing over 20 vans over the last 4 years. So if you want to see more videos like this, you can tap the screen or click the link. And please consider subscribing and be sure to smash that like button. And we'll see you in the next video. Jeff with Thrive Vans, thrive on. See ya.